The Devil's Lair is one of the easiest Grandmasters you'll run into during the Season of the Lost, but just because it's easier than Grandmaster Corrupted doesn't mean you can walk in unprepared. 1 second you're cruising through, and the next you get surprised by a bunch of enemies spawning around you. In this video, I want to quickly show you the loadouts that will make this Grandmaster an easy clear, and how to farm Devil's Lair on repeat without wiping. It doesn't matter if you've never run a Grandmaster before, or if you've gotten to the boss at the end a dozen times but always wipe. In just a couple of minutes, you'll be fully prepared to clear Grandmaster Devil's Lair as many times as you want. If this helps you out, hitting the like button will recommend the video to more people and help other players out. Thank you. In Grandmaster Devil's Lair, there's Barrier and Overload champions, so we'll need Anti-Barrier and Overload rounds. There's also Solar, Arc, and Void shields, so every element type needs to be covered. The first loadout I recommend is the primary Barrier champion killer. Use a kinetic bow, Ariana's Vow, and your favorite linear fusion rifle with a damage perk. This loadout covers both Overload and Barrier champions, ranged ad clear, and plenty of DPS for the boss and champions. Make sure to slap on Particle Disruptor for more damage. The second loadout is for Arc shields on knights and ad clear. Use a blinding nade kinetic grenade launcher, Trinity Ghoul catalyst, and a linear fusion rifle with Particle Disruptor. This is mostly for crowd control. You've got the blinding nades for slowing down swarms of enemies, and Trinity Ghoul for chaining kills. The third loadout covers everything else and supports both of the other loadouts. Use the kinetic auto rifle, Le Monarch, and a linear fusion rifle with a damage perk as well as Particle Disruptor. This loadout is great for both of the champions, Void shields, and Le Monarch is just really good at ad clear. Even though you're running double primary, you'll still have some good damage for the boss at the end with your linear fusion rifle. These are the 3 loadouts I recommend your fire team use, but you can make any tweaks you like and you'd still be fine. The same goes for your subclass builds. In a second, I'll show how to go through the 3 areas that have the highest chance of causing you to wipe. But here's what subclasses are best for Grandmaster Devil's Lair in my opinion. For Titans, I love Ursa Furiosa Coda the Commander Sentinel because of how much one super does. It buffs your team's damage when they shoot through your banner shield, which makes your super last even longer. The super makes a ton of orbs to funnel more supers to your team, and Ursa gives you a bunch of super energy back for your next super. You could also run Water Dawn with Helmut Save 14 to blind enemies that get too close to the team, and also have a really strong damage buff for the boss. For Hunters, there's 2 options I really like for this Grandmaster. Option 1 is you run Bottom Tree Gunslinger with Lucky Pants. This build is perfect for the Ariana's loadout because Lucky Pants will make Ariana's Vow do a ton of damage to champions, the Fallen Walker tank, and the boss at the end. The other option is Tether Night Stalker with Orpheus Rigs for ad clear, orb generation, and just funneling more supers to you and your teammates. Both are really great options for Hunters. For Warlocks, running Triple Well of Radiance with Phoenix Protocol was overkill, but it was pretty much impossible for us to die running Grandmaster Devil's Lair. Because there's a near constant swarm of enemies to kill, you'll be getting the most out of Phoenix Protocol when you use your super, and the orbs you make from your super just funnel more supers to your teammates, which creates this non-stop cycle of funneling wells. Drop 1 well to make orbs for the next well, which makes more orbs for the next well, and the cycle just keeps going until you finish the Grandmaster. You can also have 1 Warlock go stasis with stasis turret, so you can take advantage of focusing lens. While everyone sits in a well of radiance, you do more damage to enemies hit by the stasis turret stasis. This is great for champions and the final boss. Feel free to tweak these loadouts to what you have, or if you want to take more risk for faster clears. This Grandmaster is pretty manageable, so you can swap some stuff around and be perfectly fine. Real quick, if this is helping you out so far, check the link in the description below to Loot Pursuit. This is a free email sent out if you want daily content to stay up to date with Destiny, but without the YouTube ads. Browse everything that's already there whenever you want, unsubscribe whenever you want. Thank you. So you know the weapon loadouts to use, you also know the subclass builds to use. Now let's go over the 3 areas of this Grandmaster that you have the highest chances of wiping in. Defending Ghost, the Fallen Walker, and then the final boss room. Also, make sure not to skip the Overload champion right at the start of the Nightfall. It's right where you probably hop off your Sparrow, right by where you climb the stairs into the Devil's Lair. You might not get Platinum rank if you skip this champion. Sometimes we get Platinum rank if we skip the champion, other times we wouldn't. Skip it at your own risk. In the Defend Ghost section, the best location to set up is on the far side of the room by the train cars. Everything that spawns gets funneled to you, and you have so much cover to use. Everything spawns away from you, and then slowly takes up the space in the main section of the room. The melee enemies and the snipers are the main priority here, but they're really not too bad if you can just rotate wells back and forth. There is one time where a couple enemies will spawn right where you're standing, in the little hole area, but you have the train cars for cover, and these enemies are pretty easy to take out, especially as you're sitting in a well of radiance. You pretty much just funnel supers to one another here as enemies spawn, and prioritize the melee enemies, snipers, and champions. There's also going to be solar and arc shields here. It's just a test of patience and endurance because this area is one of the most enemy dense areas in Destiny. Focus on staying alive, killing enemies, and chaining supers back and forth, and you're ready to move forward. Once you finish the Defend Ghost room, you move into the Fallen Walker area. I recommend dropping a well as soon as you enter this area, so that you can clear the enemies waiting for you. This area is just a slow game of picking off everything here while using the hallway behind you and the Well of Radiance for cover. Don't forget the enemies on the far left, especially the snipers. They're the biggest threats here even when you're in a well. This area is pretty easy but really long. It's another test of patience and endurance as you pick off as many enemies as you can while managing the Fallen Walker and the Briggs. I recommend taking the Walker out quickly since it's very easy to DPS with linear fusion rifles together, and then you don't have to worry about its one-shot getting lucky and team wiping you. The Briggs are also very high priority, but it takes so long to do 50% damage to them so that their crits will open up. Because of that, I like to save them for after the Fallen Walker, so then I can get the Walker down quickly and it's gone for good. Then I take my time whittling each Brig down until their crits open and they can be bursted down. Just hang in the back and kill everything with bows and Arianas before moving forward, then clear the enemies in between you and the entrance to the next area. Once you finish the Fallen Walker area, all that's left is surviving the boss room and the waves of enemies that spawn during boss immunity phases. The best place for here is the room to the left as soon as you enter. Everything gets funneled to you and you can just rotate supers back and forth to each other. A lot of the enemies don't come into this room, so it's pretty easy to revive a teammate if someone gets too cocky and dies in the room. Make sure to drop grenades at the entrance to the room you're in and the hallway that leads into the safe room. These are both big choke points that enemies like to group at and funnel to you. So you can do a ton of damage to the swarms of enemies coming at you because they have to go through these two spots. Just like everywhere else in this Nightfall, you're pretty much just holding hands together while killing a ton of trash enemies with a couple champions sprinkled in. Nothing too crazy or tough like Grandmaster Corrupted, but also not exactly a speedrunning Nightfall like Lake of Shadows. You pretty much just rotate supers back and forth to each other, kill all of the enemies, take out the servitors, and DPS the boss until you start that cycle all over again. Grandmaster Devil's Lair is really a test of endurance and patience more than anything else. It's a super doable Grandmaster for farming materials or adept weapons. Subscribe to the channel for more content that helps you enjoy Destiny more, and like this video if it helped you out. Liking the video will help other players see the video and more people will want to farm Grandmaster Devil's Lair together. More people wanting to farm means more people using LFG so we can all find players to play with. Good luck farming everyone, thanks for watching.